Steven, what do you think lasted longer? The national media restraining themselves from criticizing Brock Purdy or Adrian Griffith's time with the Bucks?
Ooh. So you're saying the criticism for Brock Purdy has been going longer than Adrian Griffin?
When he became head coach of the Bucks.
Yeah. I'd say Brock Purdy has been longer because really it's been since the start of the season, and the basketball season started later than the 49ers. But also, I'll just say this. I mean, I haven't watched the Bucks that closely this year. I've obviously caught them whenever possible to watch Dame and Giannis a little bit, but haven't watched in full. Like, what happened? Why is Peter Griffin's basketball coach cousin Adrian Griffin fired?
Nicely done there. Well, I'm not sure, but it all seems kind of shady. So before we get to Brock Purdy and the criticism of him, what's going on, everybody? Just your opinion, man. Stephen Langford, Derek Papa. We'll talk about divisional playoff weekend, and we'll get into all of the games. A little bit of news today with the Raiders. But just really quick, Milwaukee Bucks fired Adrian Griffin, the head coach of the Milwaukee Bucks. He came from Toronto, and kind of weird. I never liked the move of firing Mike Budenholzer after he won a championship. I think just 2 years removed, which is insane to me, but whatever. And I remember he got the job, and he said something in training camp and during a preseason game where Tom Tolbert kind of snuffed it out. It was just like a quote about Chris Middleton coming back from injury, and he did not sound like he knew what the hell he was talking about. And I remember Tom being like, I don't know if this guy's going to last long because I don't know what he actually brings to the table. And then before the season, Terry Stotts was supposed to be his assistant coach and then bailed right before the season started, which is kind of curious because Damian Lillard was his longtime player in Portland. So 43 games in, it is the shortest tenure of a head coach that was not on an interim basis.
Dude, it doesn't make any sense. Again, I wish I had like more of a stronger opinion on this, but obviously something wasn't working out. Maybe it was with the players, maybe it was an issue there, but you're second in the East. Doesn't look like they've really slowed down. Defensively, they've been a little bit of a liability, but that was almost expected. Maybe they were expecting Giannis to reach a higher potential. I don't know what it is, but no, that'll be fascinating to watch come playoff time. I think that's that's really when this move is going to show itself because teams can get by on talent in the regular season. Like you could just get by with your team, but like the Bucks, I just wonder how it's going to look when come playoffs and if they're maybe discombobulated or maybe this was a move just to prepare them for the playoffs and give them enough time before the All-Star break. And maybe by that point, by the time, whenever they are in March, April, whenever it rolls around, then they'll be more postseason ready.
Well, if you follow the rumors, Doc Rivers is going to take over as head coach. It's not official yet. I don't think that's solidified from a Woj or Shams tweet.
It looked like it. I think he is.
Yeah? Is that official now?
It happened like 12 minutes ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I guess I missed that.
Yeah.
Well, they'll be playoff ready, and they'll have a 3-1 lead and blow it.
Exactly.
I love
That's
Doc.
all Doc Rivers is.
I know. And I apologize if I sound like Doc Rivers tonight. I know he's been on the broadcast this year, which if he gets the job, I assume he already does, Mark Jackson come out of retirement? I don't know. But just real quick, I lost again in the picks for divisional weekend. And I would love to do the hot sauce challenge tonight because I never backed down from a challenge. I actually was considering it because I got a little cough going on. Not feeling great tonight. Hopefully it's not flu or anything. But I was going to tough it out and do it just to clear up my sinuses. But I would, probably not the smartest thing to do. So when we do the podcast next Saturday, I will be hopefully good to go and I will do the challenge then. I'm sorry. I let you all down.
You really did. You let me down. You let Otis Bird the third down. You let AJ Cruz down. You let Ernie 2 down.
Where's Ernie 1?
Where's Ernie 1? He's been asleep on us, literally.
He has. And by the way, shout out to Abraham Cruz here. Sadate, my brothers. Yeah, a little Pootie Tang reference. I see you. Sign my pity on the running kind. Another great cameo by Bob Costas, by the way. I said that last week. Um, all right. Basketball aside, the Bucks will figure out what they're going to do going forward, I guess, with Doc Rivers. Football. Before we get to the games being played this past weekend, Raiders finally have a GM, Steven. Tom Telesco. He was the Chargers GM for quite some time, 10 years, I want to say. Drafted Justin Herbert. He made the moves to get Khalil Mack, and he drafted Derwin James and Joey Bosa. So he knows talent. Um, but I think all of us were kind of expecting the tandem move of interim coaches in GM of Antonio Pierce being elevated along with Champ Kelly. I don't know if Champ Kelly is now going to leave. I would assume so, because he had interviews for general manager positions that were open in the NFL. But from all that I read, it sounded like he was in these interviews with the coaches trying to find the new coach, and now it's awkward where he was in those interviews and now he's not going to be a part of the team, I would assume. I do like the move. I think that if you're going to have an inexperienced coach like Antonio Pierce, it's good to have a GM that has experience, 10 years experience, and he knows the Raiders intimately, going against them twice a year. So I like the move. And as Alon said to us a couple months ago or a couple weeks ago, whatever it was, it's nice to have somebody above the head coach right now, because in the past, John Gruden was that guy. Josh McDaniels was that guy, that they had full autonomy of the whole ship. And now Antonio Pierce will be the leader of men on the field, but Tom Telesco is going to be the one to build this team together.
Trust. That's all I care about. Trust between the two. It's not going to work if you don't have trust between your GM and your head coach. Been saying that all along. If Champ Kelly wasn't the guy and Tom Telesco is, then so be it. I'm not going to sit here. I could go over the history with the Chargers, but I'm also not going to fully blame that on Tom Telesco. They had the Brandon Staley issue before. You had just the Chargers never being able to figure out on fourth down. It seemed like they always built a roster to contend, but it felt like it was the coaching. It may have been some player injuries that never let them get to where they wanted to be, but specifically coaching the past few years. And then I guess the injury to Justin Herbert this past season really put the nail in the coffin for 2023 for Los Angeles. But look, I like it. And me being British, though, I can't help but think of Tesco Supermarket when I see his last name, Tom Telesco. Tesco is like the Safeway out there in England.
Tesco.
We're going to Tesco. Are we going to Sainsbury's? Oh, Tesco or Sainsbury's. Oh, do you want to go to Asda? Maybe we can go to Asda. Maybe Marks and Spencer's. Let's go to Tesco.
Are those all the supermarkets there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Yeah. Asda's more like the Walmart, I guess you could say.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Of England. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. All right.
But Tesco is the ultimate
Tom
supermarket.
Tesco, baby.
Tom Telesco. Then that's more fun to say in an English accent. We're going to say that. I'm going to say that with an English accent from here on out on the podcast. Tom Telesco.
Good with me. And on the chat here, is it aluminum or aluminium?
It's aluminium.
And then my buddy who's British, Alex, would always say garage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and my favorite. Do you know the rapper Jay-Z?
That's a good one. The one that my parents could never shake, or at least my dad could never shake, was Lou, referring to the bathroom as the loo.
That's always fun. Did whenever he came over to your apartment, did they say flat?
No, they never said flat. They were kind of they were well past that, but I don't know, for whatever reason, whenever we went back to England as a family, my dad would come back with a stronger British accent for
that always happens, dude. That always happens.
Yeah. I guess it's like just getting back to his roots. And he's like, "What you mean? What did I do?" You know.
That's pretty good.
But as I've just completely derailed this entire conversation,
I like the move. Baby.
But the first order of business, I am interested to see what they do with their offense. I want to see if maybe they made this hire because he has certain connections with offensive coordinators. I saw Arthur Smith was floating around earlier with 7 different teams that are looking for him as an OC. Not sure about him. Want to see what they do at the draft. A lot of mock drafts have come out lately. I looked at Bucky Brooks, Daniel Jeremiah, Mel Kiper's this morning. I think Mel Kiper had him taking a cornerback, and then both Bucky Brooks and Jeremiah had them going up with the offensive tackles, which I really wouldn't be mad at. But if you don't have a plan at quarterback, then, well, what are we doing this season then? We're just going to stick with Aiden O'Connell and probably cut Jimmy Garoppolo. That's what Mel Kiper was saying in his mock draft explanation. So I don't know what they're going to do.
No.
But I think if there's going to be any time to grab a quarterback, it would be right now. You have a bunch of guys who appear to be NFL ready. Then you also got the Heisman Trophy winner in Jaden Daniels. A lot of those guys projected to be top 5 picks. I don't know. Maybe he's got to work the phones, get a trade going. Maybe that's why they hired him.
That definitely could be the case with Justin Fields maybe available. By the way, Shane Waldron, who used to be with the Seattle Seahawks, was hired as the Bears OC.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming he got the job because he probably had 2 plans. One for if they keep Justin Fields, and one for if they decide to draft Caleb Williams. And while Cliff Kingsbury's knowledge of Caleb Williams is very interesting, I just don't think they want to be pigeonholed into getting him and having to draft Caleb Williams. They have the option now.
Right.
Cliff Kingsbury's available still as OC. Given Tom Telesco's familiarity with the Chargers, I wouldn't be surprised if Kellen Moore is in the mix. And Arthur Smith's interesting. But if I were the Eagles, I would want Arthur Smith. And Arthur Smith could definitely challenge Nick Sirianni for his job.
No doubt. Plus, he's got A.J. Brown.
Yes, and he knows A.J. Brown's basically the same type of scheme he could work with the Eagles.
Derrick Henry go to the Eagles next year? Maybe.
You know, what podcast was it? I think it was Bussin' with the Boys, where he sat down and said it was close when Kevin Byard was getting traded to the Eagles. He was supposed to be part of the deal.
Oh, really?
I guess that didn't kind of
The boy. They took a break from fielding their all black versus all white NFL team.
Yeah, Will Compton's been on a tear for that that matchup. Also, we're taping this. We're not taping. We're live. But if you listen to the podcast, this was recorded on Tuesday night at 7:32. I only say this because it sounds like Jim Harbaugh is close to becoming the Chargers head coach. So if that news breaks, we'll give it to you. But if this comes out tomorrow, it's a little dated. But yeah, it sounds like that's happening. So I would assume Ed Dodds is going to be his guy now that the Raiders have named Tom Telesco their general manager.
Well, let's see if Justin Herbert buys into whatever Jim Harbaugh's selling, because that's the number one thing, right? And
yep.
Herbert's a kind of no BS type of dude. Although I guess he's kind of a jokester at times, but I think. Yeah, that'll be an interesting move. I mean, hey, look, all things aside, pro-life rallies out of the picture here. I'm excited to have Jim Harbaugh back in the league. He's going to be a very entertaining head coach.
Yeah.
Just to watch, his press conferences. Another player's injured. I don't know. It reminds me of my chickens at home. I had a chicken once who broke his leg, and, he sat in his pen. And as the other chickens were all running around and the roosters and the hens were laying eggs, this chicken was just resting and got back on its feet within 3 to 4 weeks. So I expect that's for him to be the timetable to return. I don't know if humans and chickens have the same type of bone structures, but no, looking forward to it. All right, here's my guy, Justin Herbert. You talk to him.
Yeah, I do remember him talking about chickens. Yeah, he's a weird cat. And by the way, my favorite thing this week has been the awkwardness of that clip of that interviewer getting to him at the pro-life rally, and then like guys like Pat McAfee and Rich Eisen are like, so Harbaugh was at a pro-life rally, and he answered the question about his future. And it was just like everyone's just like not acknowledging that. And he was like, we like Jim, we don't want to talk about that, but yeah. Anyway,
separating the art from the artist, the sport from the sportsman, whatever.
It's tough. He likes raising babies. Anyway,
at least we know if the Chargers have a child. If one of them has a child and they don't want it, the Harbaughs will be willing to take them.
You best believe it's daddy daycare over at the Harbaughs.
Didn't he tell his players that?
Yes. If you get a girl pregnant, I will raise your child, which is good Lord. Anyway. Harbaugh, man. Harbaugh.
Dude, that's on just so many levels of weird. I can't even explain.
Like,
anyway.
What if you cut that player? Like, not
right.
like imagine he's in the NFL and he's like, I gotta cut you, but your baby's still mine.
Right. Ooh.
All right. Anyway, we had fun Last Saturday, I met up with you and Jesse at Stadium in Walnut Creek.
Yep.
Uh, Raining all day. That's probably why I'm sick. I was walking over in the pouring rain and dried out, and got to catch both games on Saturday: the Texans and Ravens, and Packers and 49ers. And oh, real quick, Steven, Sunday you went to go do your. Did you do your pictures with
We did
Jesse?
do our pictures.
How'd it go?
Went well, man. With the rain was cooperative. It held up for as long as we needed it to. This was weird though. Did them at Baker Beach, in front of the Golden Gate Bridge. We get there. There's caution tape out. There's cops in the parking lot with their lights
Uh-oh.
on, and we walk over. There was just a boat stranded ashore
Ooh.
on its own. Nobody in it. The waves were going crazy. It
Did you go
was
inside?
no, but they blocked it all off. It kind of got in the way a little bit, but they brought out like the canine unit. They brought out the bomb squad. They wanted to search it real quick, make sure there was nothing there, and then once they realized there was nothing there, then they just left. So got a lot of good picks out there, though my feet were freezing. Like that's the thing. The engagement pictures were great. They look great. Jesse and I look fantastic, especially Jesse. She just looks radiant. But what I will tell people is, though we look incredibly happy and everything's all smiles, my feet were goddamn freezing.
What, you
You
have
know?
shoes on?
No.
Oh, why,
Come
why,
on,
why do they do that for pictures? That's always weird to me.
dude, we're on a beach.
Oh, that makes sense. Okay, yeah, beach. Yeah, that makes
It'd
sense.
be weird to go to the rim of the beach with your shoes on.
Not if it's cold.
So, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Exactly, Ernie too. Yes. Waves in the face. Huge ass waves just hitting you in the face like boom.
I forgot about that. Old Eric Burns. Well, good that the rain didn't affect you on Sunday. I was hanging out with our boy John Curley. We went to final in San Francisco, and by the time we got out of there, after I think John Curley had 19 Coors Lights.
Jeez.
Yeah, he's an animal.
He told me one day. He told me that he upgraded. He's like, "Oh, Steve, I tried a lager." Whoa. And it's like,
Never again. Never
yeah,
again.
I guess
I'm a
he's
bud
just,
man. I'm a
I
bud
guess
man.
he's just back to the domestic light beers.
Good for him. By the time I got out of the bar, it was pouring rain, so I just lifted back. And God, weather's been. Hey, we need the rain, as they always say.
Right.
But affecting our plans, I guess. Well, not really. I guess we all still did what we did. Anyway, let's go to Saturday. So let's get to Packers 49ers first. You and I and Jesse were all thinking they may lose this. And I think the good majority of fans were watching this game and thought they're going to lose this game. Everything did not go their way.
Mm-hmm.
In pretty much the first three quarters. That kick return that I believe Nixon had for the Packers, and fumbles, and then of course recovered. Everything just seemed to go against the 49ers' way. Brock wasn't himself. The injuries, Deebo Samuel being out, he's 50-50 for the NFC Championship game. The weather, Brock has, I guess, not performed well in the weather. The only really evidence we have of that is the Cleveland game earlier this year. But I was kind of shocked that the Niners came out that sloppy. And I'll say this too. Nervous energy in the bar from the 49er fans, especially that one guy after every first down screaming, 49ers, first down. Oh. And I get it. You're excited. But we're not at Levi's. And we don't need to do that. For every first down. If you want to celebrate the touchdowns, by all means, man, go for it. But that guy was annoying the crap out of me.
Yeah.
Would you agree?
Would I agree that he was annoying the crap out of you?
Well, you too.
I kind of blocked it out after the first one.
No, you're a better man than me, Steven. I wanted to punch that guy in the face.
I know you did. You kept on looking over at him, but also I had him turned to my back. What was annoying me more was the people crowded around that table who couldn't find a seat and didn't even care about the game. It's just like, yo, you're like, I'm just like holding. I'm weird, man. My arms, they like, I can't place them normally. They're always in a weird position. And like, I'm just like banging my elbow against this random person who doesn't even care about the game. And that was more bothersome to me than the one random 49er fan who just kept going, first down, oh, oh, oh. You got so mad at that. It was pretty great.
You know, because it was just kind of like, dude, shut up. And like, you
Yeah.
know, like if you want to celebrate when they score, cool. But like we're celebrating first downs here. Come on.
Just to get it back at him, didn't we say like 49ers, second down, a
Yeah.
two, a two, a
Yeah.
two?
He looked over our direction and didn't like that. And there was a couple times where I just looked in his direction like, bro, what are we doing here? And thank God that one 49er fan was like, I agree with you. This guy's annoying.
Yeah.
But no punches were thrown. It was all
No.
civil.
No, it was.
So interesting game because Brock Purdy did not look good. I know everybody's killing him the last 2 days, and we'll get to that. But it was probably the best game plan that Matt LaFleur has ever had against a 49er defense. I was shocked that Aaron Jones was able to run all over them. And a lot of people are critical of Kyle Shanahan, the way he handled the first half, not using his timeouts, trying to be aggressive and go for a touchdown. I kind of understood with the weather and wanting the ball back because they were going to get it back in the second half, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
And I get that. You want to go up 10-6, and then you get the ball back, and then with the hope of going up 17-6. But a lot of people are calling out Kyle for that decision. The reality is Brock did not play well until he saved the game in the fourth quarter. And I believe that they needed that game. They needed to be tested. Most of these games this season have been blowouts, but they need to be tested in the playoffs. And I think it was good for Brock Purdy to have that moment where he needed to be clutch. He was, I believe, 6 of 7 on the last drive for 44 yards. It was really McCaffrey that was, holding the team together. Weird, when Debo out, they had Juwan Jennings line up at the backfield, just weird shit like that. But if I'm being honest, I thought it was good for the 49ers, but they also lucked out. A lot of benefits from the missed field goal and the interceptions. Jordan Love, better than Brock Purdy, Stephen?
I think that's an interesting conversation that we can have. Because have you watched the new season of True Detective yet?
I have not. North Country?
Yeah.
I've heard great things, but I have not. It's been a while.
Just a couple of seasons in, and if anyone's watched that show, you understand how slow it can be. It's a real slow burn, that one. It doesn't get going until like the 6th or 7th episode. But first 2 episodes, there's one thing that's apparent with Jodie Foster, and she's all about, you got to ask the right questions. Terrible impersonation. But her whole thing as a cop, you got to ask the right question.
You're asking Jimmy Stewart or Sean Connery?
You're asking the wrong question. You're asking the wrong. We're in Alaska. You're asking the wrong question. But that's her thing. She's asking the wrong questions. And that's how I felt seeing what all the national talk shows are talking about. ESPN and FS1, just same question, different wording. ESPN worded it, is Brock Purdy the 49ers weak link? And FS1 worded it, is Brock Purdy the same thing. I can't exactly remember what it was. But that's not the right question. Like, here's where I came away with it. Before we even focus on the 49ers, I think you said it. More than anything, like, I know the 49ers won the game, but to me, the Green Bay Packers lost it. Like, I'm sorry, the 49ers got lucky.
Yeah.
Like that, like the fact that Purdy played the way that he did and had that final drive, it was fantastic, but they shouldn't have been in that position. Okay. The Packers had it. All right. They scored the touchdown out in the second half specifically. I know we had what happened in the first half. And I actually think that speaks to what the Packers did. Okay. One, they were very disciplined on the field. Didn't commit too many penalties. And when the 49ers did, took advantage, which was great. But that's about all they did right in terms of execution for all 4 quarters. Because number 2, you did something that Kyle Shanahan doesn't normally do. Look, there's a reason why he let the clock run out there in that first half. It's not just because, they're getting the ball back. It's because he didn't trust his defense. And you got Kyle Shanahan to coach like he didn't trust this defense. Okay. That's what they did, which is just a goal that you absolutely want. You forced Kyle Shanahan, the Green Bay Packers defense, forced Kyle Shanahan into making Purdy throw the ball 39 times. I know a lot of people are saying, run the ball, run the ball, run the ball, but you can't really run the ball when you only have so much time left.
Yeah.
And you held them to 14 carries, 98 yards. McCaffrey's going to go nuclear every single time he touches the football. But if you hold him to 14 carries, that's a win. In the second half, that's when the Packers started to falter. Obviously, they took the 21-14 lead, but then after that, Jordan Love throws the interception, and that's where he started to go downhill. And Matt LaFleur absolutely made a mistake the following drive when, for whatever reason, after I believe that interception, they kicked the field goal. Shout out to Jake Moody for making that 50-yarder.
Yep.
That was huge. That proved to be a huge one. I know we don't pay attention to field goals too much unless it's like the final kick of the game, but that one is absolutely worth noting and giving him credit because he came through 52-yarder. That's massive in that type of weather to cut the lead to 21-17. But after that, you have all of the fourth quarter. It's the start of the fourth quarter, and you don't run the football at all. Like, that's where I'm like, run the damn ball. What are you doing? Try to get first down. Don't just pass on first down with Jordan Love. Jordan Love is shook right now. He just threw an interception. This is the first time he looked off all night. So they gave it away there. And then even when the defense forced a punt, again, you missed a field goal with Anders Carlson, as you mentioned. And I just think their lack of experience, I think they were also a little scared, honestly. I think they were a little nervous. I didn't even mention the dropped interceptions.
Darnell Savage had a pick six.
Before I even look at the 49ers, like, I don't even know how to analyze this one for San Francisco, to be honest, because they did not play well, and they played bad enough to where the Packers could have taken that game, and they didn't.
I would say that while they lucked into the victory, they did right a lot of wrongs when it came to narratives that have been said about them this season.
Totally.
So big one was they can't come back in the fourth quarter. So Kyle Shanahan righted that wrong. He was 1 of 30 0 for 30 when heading into the fourth quarter down by 5 or more. And they righted that. Then people were worried about Jake Moody. Can he make a clutch field goal? He did. One was blocked, but also one was nailed. You can't deny that 52-yard field goal was just rocked. And then the narrative of Purdy can't play in the rain, which I don't know if he really rectified, but he also had a game-winning drive without Deebo Samuel, and that's something that we've talked about for most of the season. Is if one guy leaves, does Purdy get all flustered? He did start to like there wasn't a 4-turnover game, but he did kind of look rattled like he did against the Baltimore Ravens. But I will say this too. Sometimes in the playoffs, you just got to be lucky. I know a lot of teams that have kind of underestimated their first opponent, and not that I'm saying that the Niners did that, but wasn't their best effort. They got the win, and that's what the most important thing is. And I know a lot of Niner fans from the 80s. I hate making this comparison. I'm not saying that he's this guy, but it was kind of Joe Montana-ish. But believe me, I'm not going David Lombardi where I'm saying the guy is Joe Montana. What I'm saying is that sometimes you're going to have shitty games, and when it matters, you come to play. And I thought that was really big of Brock Purdy to have that drive and to get them in the end zone. Does it make me think a little bit less of him? Not really. He does what he needs to do, and Kyle schemes it up for him, and there's nothing wrong with that. Matt LaFleur schemes it up for Jordan Love. I just think he has more of a skill set than Brock Purdy does. And while Jordan Love did have 2 crucial interceptions, I came away more impressed with him. So I still think the Niners are going to win the NFC. We got a whole, other episode to talk about their matchup against the Lions. But sometimes in the playoffs, some teams just they luck into one victory. I've seen the New England Patriots get by a couple times. I've seen, I haven't seen it, but I know the old school 49ers, the Rams a couple years ago, they blew that lead against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and still managed to come away with a victory. Just sometimes you get away by the skin of your teeth, and then you got to rectify things and take shit more seriously. So while it wasn't the best effort, and I know fans are kind of disappointed, I would say there's a lot to be hopeful for, that they've righted a lot of wrongs and they will be more focused this Sunday.
Yeah, it's good for, sports talk and creating a conversation, but I think a lot of it's just overthinking. Like, the Niners are a very good team, and just because they had one bad performance does not change any of that. I don't change how I feel. I think there's some questions along the trenches. I do think that offensive line and the defensive line, I wonder how they're going to handle the Lions in the trenches there, because it really does start there. And we all know the Lions have one of, if not the best offensive line in football, and their defensive line has Aiden Hutchinson. But the 49ers on that final drive, they did what the 49ers are supposed to do. Again, I think the Packers just gave that game away. Like, you give this 49ers team any momentum, they are going to kill you. Like, it's like everyone's. I'm sorry, but Juwan Jennings is not underrated. We know he could do this. Everyone
Third and
does this
Juwan.
well, everyone does this after every game. He makes a couple of huge catches. Then we start to say he doesn't get enough appreciation. No, he does get enough appreciation, or he should get enough appreciation. It's just no one seems to give it to him game after game after game, which they probably should. Juwan Jennings was unbelievable. Brandon Ayuk with some huge catches. Chris Conley coming through when it mattered.
Yeah.
Like, everyone contributed, not to mention George Kittle, Christian McCaffrey on that huge touchdown run. Like, everyone did a little bit of everything. It's just a question of, like, I think the 49ers can beat any team. Although I do question it with the Ravens. I know it's just going to be a rematch, and we automatically think, like, oh, rematch of Christmas Day. 49ers are going to have the film. They're going to have more to correct with their mistakes. But the Ravens, to be honest, look kind of unstoppable at this point. Like, Lamar Jackson is using his feet as smart as I've ever seen him use them. He's throwing when they need to. That defense is just smothering, and I'm not really seeing the same from the 49ers. So the 49ers can be beat, but it's got to be the other team to do it. And I don't know, like, just to me, I'm focused so much on the Packers after that one. Like, the 49ers, I'm not, nothing's changed. I don't think this team is any less than what I thought of them during the regular season. And I think you and I have both said on this podcast that they are the best in the conference. Really, they're the number one in the conference and no one's close. I still feel that way, but there are certain holes that they do have in their game, or they did have in this last one. I expect them to correct the penalties. I expect Christian McCaffrey to get a little more run, but ultimately what it comes down to is, can the other team take advantage when the 49ers, which is very rare, when they make mistakes?
Yeah.
And they rarely do. And that's why they blow teams out. It's because they don't really do much by way of mistakes. They don't turn the ball over too much. How much have you seen the Niners fumble this year? Barely at all, now that I think about it. They're mostly disciplined. A lot of they do give up those big pass interference penalties, but they don't get too many on the offensive line. There's not a lot of the random defensive holding or hands to the face and all that. You might get an unnecessary roughness from Dre Greenlaw here or there. But look, the 49ers made a ton of mistakes against the Packers, and yet the Packers weren't able to beat them. And I don't see the 49ers doing that same thing against the Lions. So it makes Sunday's matchup all that more compelling.
I believe you ask some players, they'll tell you there's no better feeling than knowing you didn't play your best game, but you still won the game. You found a way to win, and you know that you can correct things the next game. And it's good to be tested sometimes. I will say, it is kind of concerning that they didn't get any pass rush. If between Purdy's performance and the defense, I'm a little more concerned about the defense because Chase Young looked lost. Bosa hasn't got a sack, I believe, since the 2021 NFC Championship game in the playoffs. The Niners, they have a great defensive line, but they didn't register a sack. So they need to be a little more lethal. And I know people are going to criticize Steve Wilkes for not, the probably their softest defensive performance this season, next to maybe the Bengals game or the Vikings. But honestly, they looked like the Philadelphia Eagles for the first 11 weeks of the season. They found a way to get the job done. And they didn't look great, but their talent overrode any problems they had prior to that.
100%. Like, and it's okay. Like, we don't like to throw the term lucky around because this is the NFL. Everything's earned.
Now you need a little bit of luck.
But they got a little bit of luck in this one, and that's fine. That's okay. like if anyone's out, like, it's natural to be worried in the playoffs because it's the playoffs. All right, that's totally fine. But to be worried because you may not think your team's as good based on their previous performance, and it's, so what have you done for me lately, league? I disagree with that. If you have nerves based on, solely, if you're a 49er fan, you do have nerves solely based on the playoffs, then by all means have those. No, those are fine. But if you're nervous because, your team didn't look that great, well, they walked away with a win.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they could ask for anything more than that. And it really was. You're right. It was good for them to be tested. They rarely have been this year. Um, I do think Debo's absence will be huge
If that happens, I expect him to play, but
if that happens.
he does have a shoulder injury. It's the same. I believe it's the same shoulder that he hurt
Same
in
shoulder,
Cleveland. Well,
the micro fracture in that left
yeah.
shoulder, and
Well,
I'll tell you something. This thing, even though
oh
I
yeah.
fractured it, and it's not the same at all. Debo's playing in an NFL playoff game. I was regular season opener in Walnut Creek beer league softball.
So, same thing. Some might say it's more tough.
Yeah, catching a routine fly ball in center field and somehow falling and breaking my shoulder. Same thing. Same thing. Same thing, Debo. I know what you're going through. But point is, this damn thing still hurts. so,
Yeah, I get that.
so
And that
yeah,
was like what, 8 months ago?
yeah. It was a while back.
Yeah. I will say this too. Dre Greenlaw had an epic game with 2 interceptions. I believe on NFL Films he called out that he was going to get the second one, having kind of like a Babe Ruth moment. So good for him. I thought he had the best performance defensively. Excuse me, on the team. Got choked up talking about Dre Greenlaw.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, they have things to fix, but I think they'll be okay. I really do. So what do you think about the Brock Purdy criticism? The last 2 days, I've seen First Take. Ryan Clark had a field day today. Dan Orlovsky and Steve Young even both criticized him, saying like, "The hell, what was that?" But in the end, they both said he had a good performance at the end. And then Greg Olson, I saw on Pat McAfee defended him. But what do you think about the criticism where Ryan Clark, who I feel like, I don't know, just kind of too hot takey for me at times today, was just like, I've had to hold my tongue for the whole season to put Brock Purdy in the same category as Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson. No one's putting that guy in the same category as those guys. But as far as MVP, yes, he deserved that. He deserved that conversation.
Yeah, he absolutely did. But I can't really give you the answer to Brock Purdy. I just think it, especially with those types of guys, I think it really bothers these guys in the secondary, these hard hitters, when a guy like Brock Purdy comes in as the last overall draft and is last overall pick in the draft and lights up the league. I can't think really of any explanation, but I think this is kind of like an overarching problem within sports media and more specifically ESPN. We've talked about it already with the Aaron Rodgers and Pat McAfee stuff. It's just talking about whatever's hot, and whatever's hot is the quarterback. And I guess I don't necessarily blame ESPN because it's what gathers ratings and they're in the ratings business. So how can I fault them for just conducting business?
Mhm.
But this is where the problem all started. It has to be focusing on the individual. Why we just have to tear these guys down completely. And I know they got to create new content, but there's got to be something more fresh, something that no one else is arguing about, instead of just giving into what fans are arguing about and giving into what NFL fans think. Why don't you come up with something creative, something that could teach, instead of just, no, this guy doesn't belong in the conversation. Who cares? Who cares if Brock Purdy does or doesn't? His team's winning games and they could win a Super Bowl this year. So to answer your question, yes, I think it's absolutely wrong that they're doing that. But I also think it's more just to the fault of what sports media has become and what ESPN is told to do. And hey, you know what? It's ESPN, and I'm not going to call Ryan Clark out for this, but Kendrick Perkins straight up said that he was told by producers on First Take or Get Up to say something that he didn't believe. And it was something regarding the Suns and the Bucks. I forgot what it was. But he straight up, I think he told All the Smoke, straight up said ESPN told him to lie. So if Ryan Clark is, I could easily see this being a ploy where ESPN producers are telling Ryan Clark, you're going to be the one to say this about Brock Purdy, and this is going to create just national outrage. We're gonna get our number one guy, Pat McAfee, to stick up for him. And you know what? Pat McAfee needs some love right now, and it seems like a lot of people are really on the Brock Purdy side of things. So let's let Pat McAfee have a very strong opinion. It's the strongest I've heard him talk about anything in the NFL this year. I wouldn't be surprised if ESPN does that and just turned it into sports media theater.
Let me ask you then. Did that actually happen with Kendrick Perkins saying that?
Yeah.
Then how come that's not ridiculed like Carissa Thompson saying that she makes up reports at halftime? I
Right.
understand that one is a little more egregious because you're taking someone's words and falsifying that. But if you really don't come on TV and really believe in what you say, like, what's the point of that?
Straight up saying something you don't believe. Like
Yeah.
and Ryan Clark does not seem like that type of dude to give in to that sort of stuff. Maybe he truly does believe it, but even if he does, like he was clearly told, "Hey, lean into this. Like you're the one you're one of the few guys here who isn't on this guy's side, and you saw what happened with Amy Trask, right? You saw how much engagement she got out of that. Yeah,
By the
let's
way,
do
I
this."
wanna mention that real quick. I know that Amy didn't, she didn't say the best thing about Brock Purdy. But one thing that I've noticed is when women in sports say something that people don't like, they get ridiculed way more than men do.
Oh
And
yeah.
I won't go into details, but Greg Silver tried to get he's Mike Silver's son. He's trying to get Amy Trask on his show this week on KMBR, and Amy said, "I don't feel like coming on right now because of what people are saying about me on social media," and I don't want to go into details, but it's disgusting. So people are allowed to have their opinions, just your opinion, man. They could be wrong, they could be stupid, but stop. Like that, Niner fans need to chill out on Amy Trask.
Yeah. Well, there's a difference between having an opinion and just straight up insulting an individual. And that's not even an opinion. Like I saw a lot of that. But again, I'm following my New Year's resolution a little bit more. Haven't looked at the comments as much. When I have the urge, it's kind of like it's like a tick. It's habitual now. When I have the urge to click that comment button or click open the tweet and look at those responses, I don't
Yeah,
anymore.
good
So,
call.
or I haven't for the past week. I'm very proud of myself for that. And you know what? I think my mental health is better. The
Hey
way
now.
that it's nice not knowing what everyone has to say about everything, except the Oscar snubs. I did look at that.
Boy, people really hate Ryan Gosling today.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
wasn't his fault. I'm sorry, but like, I didn't see the movie. I'll get around to it one day, but everyone tells me that's the best part of it.
Right. Yeah. They, the director should have got some love. I'm not sure about Margot Robbie
I'm
so
sure.
much.
I'm sure.
I'm not so sure about Margot Robbie, but the director Greta Gerwig absolutely should have gotten some form of a nomination
Well,
with that.
didn't she
But
get one for? We're going to Oscar talk here now, which we'll do plenty of when that's coming up. She did it. She got it nominated for like original screenplay or adapted screenplay, but it
I
wasn't
believe
best
so. Yeah,
director.
it wasn't Best Director. It was
Yeah, I
another one.
understand that because that's been a category that's been slept on for women, so I understand that completely.
Mhm.
But hey, I heard Gosling was good in it.
He was great. But of course, I think it just kind of it really follows what the movie's about, which is
So I
just
hear.
yeah. Um,
Well,
Men are assholes. that's pretty that's pretty much what we
can't
got
wait
for
to
right
watch that.
now.
Kidding.
You know what? Now that we're here,
Yeah,
shout out to Fremont's Zone. If anyone doesn't know, I am from Fremont originally.
you and Jack Del
And
Rio.
is he from
Yeah,
he's from really?
yeah. It's where because we went to the bocce ball tournament.
He's from Hayward.
My mistake. Move on, Steven. Move on.
Okay.
I look ridiculous
No,
right now.
but
Move
from
on.
Fremont, from Warm Springs specifically, this guy was a year younger than me. I'm gonna try to find the full list of noms here. This guy was a year younger than me. I knew he got into directing and started making movies and stuff. And
Mhm.
he got nominated for an Oscar for Best Documentary Short
Oh,
Film.
nice.
Sean Wang and Sam Davis. Sean Wang, yeah. He
Sammy Davis Jr.
I used to play I used to I used to go over to a friend's house when we were younger, and this guy Sean used to live across from him, so we hung out a little bit, and that's how I got to know him. But we went to White Bell, to elementary school in White Bell, then to Horner Junior High, then Irvington High School. But shout out to Sean, Nine and Y Pow, nominated for best documentary short film. It's about his grandmas, so
Oh, sweet.
pretty awesome,
I
man.
hope he wins.
I hope so too. It's awesome. Like, dude, it's crazy. Like this guy literally just became a film director, and now he's nominated for an Oscar. It's wild.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, my buddy. Obviously, we talked about it earlier in an earlier podcast where I was talking about my buddy editing Merry Little Batman. So yeah, hopefully he gets a nomination one of these days. My buddy Andy Young.
Be sick.
Just real quick, did you see this fell under the radar? Nick Wagner. Did you see his article about Brock telling him basically that he was in line to be the starter? Excuse me. Unless they got Tom Brady. I'm surprised. And Brock said, I was cool with that. He's the GOAT. So he was more than happy to be the backup to Tom Brady. But I'm surprised by that. With the season they had a year ago, with all the quarterbacks they had on the roster, I don't know what the time frame was with this, but they had, Trey Lance and Sam Darnold and Brock Purdy going into the season. And Tom retired. There was always talk about him going to the Raiders last year, and Florio was still holding out hope that he was going to go to the Niners. But the Niners passed on him in 2020 when he was a free agent. And then he went to the Bucs and had his success. So I'm surprised that Kyle was down for that. And I also think Kyle loves having Brock Purdy as his quarterback. You know why? Because Brock does what he's told to do. Nick Bosa nailed it. Some coordinators or some play callers want guys that run their plays. And while Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady are great quarterbacks, I'm sure it annoyed the crap out of Matt LaFleur and Bruce Arians when those guys would be like, I'm going to do my own thing. It might lead to a touchdown. It might lead to an interception. But I'm sure those guys went crazy because you're not following the script. And I think Kyle Shanahan's a great coach. I also think he's a control freak.
Right. I mean, well, but the thing with him is he's not going to cause any controversy, Like, God, if Tom Brady were around, all the attention would be on his personal life, everything surrounding that. And, if he has a bad game, then Shanahan's going to have to answer questions about the quarterback all year. Can you imagine how refreshing this year was for Shanahan? Like, he didn't have to answer, oh, am I going with this guy or that guy?
Yeah, that's
like
fair.
he didn't have to answer that at all this year. And even last year, like, he had to answer, oh, has Brock Purdy done enough to become the full-time starter? That kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he didn't have to do any of that this year. And I think, sure, Brock Purdy is gonna do what he's told, which Shanahan does want. But in addition to that, you're not getting any of that outside noise, coverage, just everything. And isn't it what the 49ers wanted? They wanted as little distractions as possible this year. So, I think they kind of dodged a bullet there.
I think so too. And I don't think, who's to say that, Brady at 43 years old would have been effective with the 49ers. Who knows? Who knows if they have the same success when he's, rumored to be going there in 2020. All I know is Kyle is more than happy with Brock Purdy right now. But it's interesting. It is interesting to me that they were looking at that. Because they were thinking about trading for him when they were trading for Jimmy Garoppolo. So it is interesting. It is interesting that they were thinking about that, but I think Kyle's more than happy with the current QB situation they got right now.
Speaking of Bosa, what was interesting to me?
What's that?
What he said after the game.
He's not a beer guy?
Yeah.
Drink a beer when you're watching
beer doesn't really do it for me right now. Yeah, maybe something else, but
what does that mean?
What do you think it means?
Booze?
No.
Liquor? Weed?
Yeah, obviously.
Well, I don't know. He's a Florida dude. It's hard to get weed down there.
I guess. I wouldn't know.
I wouldn't know, visiting my mom 3 times a year there.
They don't have any dispensaries down at Del Boca Vista?
God, no. If I'm hanging out with my mom and all the old people in Del Boca Vista, I could say I have glaucoma or something.
No, Bo says just, hey, no, man, okay, hang on, Ernie too. Cocaine? You really think cocaine? You think Nick Bosa would do cocaine? Oh my God. Nick Bosa on cocaine. Even he'd still talk just like, yeah, just trying to get a sack, man.
It's a pretty good bump, bro. No, he's not. He's not Lawrence Taylor out there.
You think he watched the games?
The other games?
Yeah, you know, or
I don't
maybe
think so.
maybe he caught up on you know, animated flicks or something like that, and enjoyed something else, partook in something else as I'm watching Ice Age.
All right, yeah, I really liked that Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. It was pretty good, which I watched actually a couple weeks ago. Pretty good.
It's awesome.
Definitely
They
should have been in the theaters for that one though.
they
On cocaine.
that's a very nuanced joke for anyone out there who didn't see that in 2019 when Richard Sherman got an
You love
interception.
that soundbite
I'm
of
obsessed with it. I'm
of
obsessed with it.
do Richard Sherman's laugh?
He was, like he's walking down the sideline after an interception that Nick Bosa just everyone's like, come on, you know, doing the whole football thing. And then Nick Bosa just walks up, you know, Richard, you're like the squirrel and with the nut. Have you ever seen Ice Age?
Yeah. Also, my favorite one is when Fred Warner is having a passionate speech as the leader of the defense, and then you just hear Nick Bosa. Couldn't agree more, man.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah, that is interesting. He doesn't like carbs. He doesn't pound beer. But I loved when they were getting the turkey on Thanksgiving. He was like, "I can't do carbs. Turkey's not carbs, man." But yeah, whatever.
Yeah, Christian McCaffrey, like he said on Bussing with the Boys, and I just heard this, but you know, he really cheats on his diet with a good old bag of Sun Chips.
Who does?
Christian McCaffrey.
Sun chips must be one of the more healthier chips.
Yeah, real
The
cheat day.
bag is made out of things from the earth.
Yes.
Welcome
Yes.
to Earth. You got a bag of Sun chips.
Yeah. And that's his cheat day.
That's
Might
a
go
cheat
cheddar
day. Sun chips.
Might go cheddar flavor, might go sour cream and onion.
No, dude. No. Only regular.
Why?
Because that's all you need for Sun chips.
But what if I don't like that?
Well, you're weird then.
Am I?
It's like at work they have the white cheddar Cheez-Its. I'm like, who eats this shit?
I do. White cheddar Cheez-Its are awesome, bro.
Yeah, they're disgusting. There's only two type of Cheez-Its: the regular and the toasties.
I could do the extra toasty. I could.
Am I
crush
alone
them.
here? Everybody's saying that they love white cheddar Cheez-Its. You guys
The
are
white
insane.
cheddar Cheez-Its are fire. AJ Cruz, shout out to you.
No, you guys are something's wrong with you. No,
The
those are
the extra roasted is good, but this is indisputable. Sour cream and onion Sun Chips are bomb. The green
I
bag.
can get by with different types of Sun chips, but I am picky as hell when it comes to my goldfish and my Cheez-Its.
You don't like the hot and spicy, Mr. Spice Lord?
Now when it comes to Cheez-Its, no. Just give me the regular.
Oh, what?
Yeah, it's just weird. I don't want spice when I'm eating cheese. Anyway, moving on. Chiefs Bills.
Oh,
This game pissed me off
yeah.
because you were making pretty good riffs to me. You were texting me some pretty good Sean McDermott. Yeah, I'm not saying him on the pod, but some pretty good Sean McDermott riffs in the text exchange we got, and I couldn't even acknowledge it. I was like, this sucks because I was just so mad. Like, can the Bills have anything nice? Like, I thought this was going to be the time where Josh Allen was going to be Peyton Manning and slay Tom Brady, but good God, they are spooked by the Chiefs. Like,
Yeah.
Your thoughts on the game, Stephen? I'll get to mine.
Well, I'll just be you know, outwardly honest here. I did not watch a majority of it. I caught it in the fourth quarter, at least live. I caught it live in the at the start
You were
of
on the
fourth
beach.
quarter. Because I was on the beach, bro. I was taking photos. Oh, we got a new one. Danny Golding TV. Yo, Danny Golding, what's up, dude? I recognize
Man, his
that.
last name's TV. It's pretty incredible.
Wow. It's like is cousin Mike is his cousin Mike from Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory in the chat. Mike TV. That's a terrible joke. Sorry, Danny. Welcome to the podcast.
It'd be like you or me or last name radio.
Yeah. But I did manage to get there to the start of the fourth quarter. And yeah, good God. Dude, it's just nothing can go
Good
right
God, y'all.
for this Bills team. Like nothing can go right. Even though they're down 27-24 and they give up a fumble Like, what the hell, man? So, and I understand the criticism with Josh Allen. I'm willing to hear it, and I think Jesse can attest to this. I was kind of screaming at the TV when I forgot who he threw that deep ball to, but he had Stephon Diggs wide open underneath
Yeah,
for the
that was
first
it.
down, and I'm like,
Oh yeah.
Diggs underneath, Diggs underneath, Diggs,
Yeah.
and obviously he didn't get him there. But just for it to end with Jim Nance just rubbing it in. Wide right, the two most dreaded words in Buffalo Bills history.
Oh, Jim, we all know the reference, but you're gonna have to fill me in there. And by the way, for some reason, I think Taylor Swift's married to Travis Kelce. Keep saying it over and
just
over
keep
again.
on saying it. Yep. God, man, just for it to end that way, like, you know, I didn't even care about like dissecting the Bills and Josh Allen, because really my ultimate thing with Josh Allen is you ride or die with that player. Like, I'm sorry, but you found your quarterback. I think eventually he can win. You build around that guy. He is way too valuable just to let walk because of a few. Whoa, easy there, Jesse. He loves screaming around. It was Diggs with a G, Jesse.
Oh, she thinks that Josh Allen's a dick.
No, it's true. He
Oh.
loves scream. I was saying Diggs, and I guess Jesse thought I was saying dicks. Got a 10-year-old mind over there,
Yeah, childish.
honestly. But I think you just ride or die with Josh Allen, man, and you just go from there, because and you just have to wait it out until, you know, those teams aren't the same with Patrick Mahomes or Lamar Jackson.
I don't know, man. Not that I'm saying get rid of Josh Allen, but he played fine. It's one of the I think it's one of the only times where he's lost a game where he didn't turn the ball over. If I'm not mistaken. He
Yeah.
didn't throw a pick, I know that, but I don't know if he fumbled. I don't think he did. He played fine, but I will say this: his numbers. He was 26 of 39, and you would think he'd be like up near 300 yards. No, 186. Diggs caught 3 passes for 21 yards. While they were more focused on the run because that's something that haven't had in the playoffs before. I mean, it was still Josh Allen running the football, and they played fine offensively. But I'm gonna blame Josh Allen more for not completing that touchdown pass to Khalil Shakir over the middle in the end zone, wide open, than the missed field goal by Tyler Bass. It was very reminiscent of Scott Norwood. And I'm sure Scott Norwood called Tyler Bass and was like, hey, man, it's going to be okay. And then clanks up the phone. He goes, yes, I'm not the most hated man in Buffalo anymore. Because that's rough. And yes, the announcers were rubbing it in. Did you hear Kevin Harlan's call?
Yeah.
Wide right. If anybody, I love Kevin Harlan, but my man used to work for the Chiefs back in the day, and it showed. It fucking showed.
Hang on, can we play the call?
Sure, you could play the Korean call too. That was hilarious too.
Yeah. Oh, Jesus, hang on. I need to. Okay, can we find this?
Okay, but while you find it,
yeah,
there was just a lot of things in that game that I did not like. Like Stephon Diggs dropping that pass. Yes, it was a hard catch, but he should have made that catch. If you're one of the best receivers in football, the fake punt I did not understand with DeMar Hamlin, and they got bailed out with the fumble with Mecole Hardman. And I don't know, man. I think Josh Allen's one of the best quarterbacks of football, but it's something about Patrick Mahomes or Joe Burrow where he just doesn't have what they have. They're fearless, and he looks like he doesn't want to lose when he plays those guys.
This is not for the viewer. This is just for the listener. And those who are viewing, you don't really need to watch this. But this is the Kevin Harlan call from Westwood One.
Tyler Bass will try a 44-yard field goal to tie. The wind at his back. The snap is good. The ball put down. The kick is up and no good. Wide right. Wide right. The Bills kicker missed a field goal. Wide right. Jubilation for the Chiefs sideline. 1:43 to go.
Woof.
He's happy.
A little too happy. Yeah.
I'd say so. He was showing his KC roots there. But yeah, I mean, it's it was very reminiscent of the missed field goal in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So, yeah, man,
But
Josh Allen 0-3 against Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs, and I hope he's going to get to, that Super Bowl one day and be that player, because right now he's more Phillip Rivers than the guys that we think Patrick Mahomes and Joe Burrow are.
totally. But look, credit the Chiefs though. Credit Patrick Mahomes for spreading the ball around. Numbers aren't that astounding. It's like 17 for 23, 215 yards, 2 touchdowns. That's fine. But looking at the targets, Travis Kelce, 5 for 6. MVS 2 for 4. Still not that great, but Rashee Rice 4 for 4. Noah Gray 3 for 3. And then Isaiah Pacheco was running like a madman. I love the way that he's described, where it's like he's angry at the ground, so he's just stomping on it as he's running. That's the perfect way to describe what he's doing. Like he's pissed off that the grass, I don't know, did something to a family member or something like that. You know what I mean? It's like, what did the Bills grass do to you, man? But no, I think that if the Chiefs are playing this way though, like things start to go in their favor, but if their receivers are actually catching passes and Patrick Mahomes is on and has motivation, like, I don't know if I'd want to be any team facing the Chiefs. Like, it really is kind of like any given Sunday coming up against the Ravens. It's going to be a fantastic matchup. Mahomes versus Jackson. Can Lamar, finally get over that hump? Because this is the one where truly, like, you need Lamar to have a superstar performance, I think, unless that Ravens defense just completely stymies Mahomes like the Buccaneers did in the 2021 Super Bowl. But no one wants to play this team. No one.
Yeah, I think I believe it's the first time, it is, that Mahomes and Lamar are going to play each other in the playoffs. I think Lamar has beaten him once, and Patrick has beaten him, I think, 3 times, I want to say, in the regular season. I could be wrong there. But, yeah, the Chiefs aren't scared. They weren't scared. I mean, like, they played teams that crumbled in the big moments in the playoffs so far because they're tested. But the Dolphins aren't. The Bills really aren't. I mean, this is 3 years in a row now. They didn't even make an AFC championship, and this is the team that we're all anointing as the best, up-and-coming team in the AFC. So right now, until proven otherwise, I don't know about the Bills. I don't know if they'll, like, Josh Allen needs to prove a lot of things. And I think he's a great quarterback. I see a lot of people, like Ryan Clark saying disparaging things about him after he lost. The reality is, though, he was right. He did lose. So right now, I cannot put Josh Allen in the same category. I mean, skill set wise, he's incredible, but he's kind of, Dan Marino-ish, where, when Dan Marino played Joe Montana or Jim Kelly, it wasn't enough. And right now, in the pecking order of AFC quarterbacks, I think it's Mahomes, Burrow, and Josh Allen, and maybe Lamar Jackson leapfrogs him if he goes to Super Bowl.
Right. But I still think that he's that talented. You just stick with him. You ride with him. It's you found your guy. You found your franchise quarterback. You got to ride or die with this dude. He doesn't have to be a Bills lifer, but while he's in his prime, I mean, how old is he right now? Isn't he like
27?
Jesus Christ, he's 20. He's 27. 27. Yeah, when you have this guy here, that's when it's okay to, keep him for the long haul and just try to win out from there, because you're kind of stuck. It's like, what would be the better option?
There isn't one. It's
like a team with a good head coach, like, say the 49ers lose. Okay, let's just say that happens. It's a hypothetical, but let's just say that happens to the Lions. You're going to have the pitchforks coming out for Kyle Shanahan. You're going to have people calling for him to potentially be fired, questioning, what he's doing, because it's all on, Shanahan, the defense, and all that sort of stuff. Brock Purdy's Brock Purdy. You're sticking with him. He's your guy for right now. Shanahan's going to get a lot of flack, but I would ask you, what's the better option? He's led you to this point for 4 out of the past 5 seasons, and I don't think we really understand. I don't think anyone will understand unless they play just how hard it is to win a Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
And look, I think Josh Allen's. I think he's got the capability. You just got to get there and build their team, and they got a good core. And remember, their defense was hurt. Matt Milano and Tre'Davious White, those were huge injuries earlier this season, and they had even more, if I'm not mistaken, in this game. So just bad luck, and sad for Bills fans, sad for them jumping through tables and doing all that sort of stuff. But I mean, what's the better option? There aren't many out there.
There isn't when it comes to quarterback, and the one shot of them fan crying in the crowd, God, that was brutal. There isn't a better option at quarterback. Josh Allen's their guy. He just needs to get more confidence when he plays these guys. And really, the truth is, Sean McDermott gets outcoached by Andy Reid and Zach Taylor when he plays them.
Yeah,
I think that's just the case. And I don't think that they should move on from Sean McDermott because from where they were to where they finished, it was really impressive. But I do wonder if there is a better option out there for the Buffalo Bills as far as head coach. I wouldn't fire Sean McDermott, but he's in the conversation for being on the hot seat next year. I would say so.
Yeah, well, if the idea is after this many playoff losses, if you lose out on or if you lose out this many times and you do so since 2017 under Sean McDermott, then he'd probably be the one to go as opposed to Josh Allen.
No doubt. And also, I mean, their window's closing. Their salary cap is going to be really stretched thin with how much Josh Allen's making this season. I think he's going to make $47 million. I can't see any justifiable reason to keep Von Miller on this team anymore when he makes a shit ton of money and doesn't sack the quarterback at all this season.
Yep.
I would consider the possibility of trading Stephon Diggs.
Really?
Because he kind of had a down year, and if you're showing up and getting 3 catches for 21 yards, and it's always kind of you really all in on this team thing, then could you build a better receiving core with kind of lesser talent, but, more volume, I guess, not just focused on one guy? Or they could load up. Gabe Davis is a free agent, and I wouldn't be surprised if DeAndre Hopkins is in the mix again for a wide receiver 2 option, but I don't know. They're running out of time, I would say so. And it's just disappointing because I like the Bills. I mean, obviously my dad has a connection to the Bills. I go to Buffalo, see my family, and that's a franchise that I just want to see win. And the Chiefs had their day in the sun, kind of over it. I'm never going to drop that. If I'm a Raider fan or not, it always bothers me when the Chiefs win. So good for them, but shit.
Yeah. Who doesn't love the Bills? I mean, everyone's got a connection to Buffalo. Everyone likes Buffalo wings. Everyone likes Bruce Almighty. Yeah. Hey. Everyone likes tequila with hot sauce. Wait, is that just me?
Do you?
You ever had that?
No, but I guess that sounds like a new punishment for me.
Me and my buddy. No, it's not a punishment. You'd enjoy it. My buddy Nick and I, before the Bills playoff game, I forgot when, but it was a few years ago, and we became Bills fans at 10 in the morning. And what they do is tequila with a little bit of Frank's Red Hot. So we had some Frank's Red Hot. We had literally tequila, and we put it in there, and I was really nervous for it, drank it, and the hot sauce proved to be a nice little chaser built in. It was interesting.
I'll try that out, Steven.
I did not hate it. It sounds awful at first. Don't knock it till you try it. That's all.
I won't.
Just not with this stuff,
Yeah, no.
Stuff that looks me in the face every damn week that we do this thing.
Excuse me.
Easy.
Yeah, just disappointing, but the Chiefs were the better team, so they're moving on to take on the Baltimore Ravens.
Von Miller's only had 3 total tackles this year.
Yeah, he's
3.
He's not the same guy.
Dodged more court cases than he had sacks this year.
Jesus.
What?
Yeah, we'll see what happens there. I don't know. I don't want to kill him yet. I don't know what happened there.
No one knows what happened, but it's a nice little joke. He would not like that. So I know Von Miller's a huge fan of Just Your Opinion, man. But
he loves the podcast and chickens.
Yep.
Like Jim Harbaugh. The Ravens. John Harbaugh. The Ravens, hands down, have the best defensive football right now. If it wasn't apparent before, it is now, where the Niners struggled against the Green Bay Packers, and the Ravens, while going up against a rookie quarterback, shut down C.J. Stroud. The only touchdown they scored was on the punt return. And while things were kind of shaky in the first half, not a lot of offense. I thought Lamar Jackson was trying to throw downfield, couldn't find anything open. They figured it out in the second half. I still think that he looks to run a little bit more than I like, but he's definitely had the best weapons he's ever had in his career. And the defense is, I mean, that's what they're going to ride if they win the Super Bowl. Their defense is legit. It's championship like. So C.J. Stroud, and I don't know if Bobby Slowick's sticking around, but I thought he was going to get the Tennessee job, and Brian Callahan, son of Bill Callahan, we got to be the dumbest team in America, gets the job in Tennessee. So I don't know if Bobby Slowick will get a job. Maybe he will. But there's definitely a lot to be wishful for with the Houston Texans. I think they have a bright future. But the Baltimore Ravens, they're really impressive, and they were beating up on a lesser opponent, but I was thoroughly impressed with what they did in the second half.
God, I mean, there's a lot to unpack, but they really do just that defense is no joke. They're just swarming, led by Roquan Smith and Patrick Queen. They didn't even have Marlon Humphrey in this game, but Ronald Darby was huge in this one. He had a couple of passes defended. Roquan had a couple of tackles for loss, but they just stymied CJ Stroud. And you know what? They didn't, the Ravens offense didn't look good in the first half, but look, man, they made the adjustments. They made the adjustments in the second half, forced the Texans to play a little bit of zone. And whenever you're playing zone without a quarterback spy, then Lamar's going to kill you. And, you could put, oh, good Lord. What's that? What's the Texans linebacker's name? Was it Christian? Was it Christian Harris?
Christian Harris. Yeah. 48.
Yeah. Christian Harris.
Alabama.
You could spy him as much as you want. You could spy Lamar as much as you want with Christian Harris. It's not going to do anything because Lamar's just going to run all over you. And he's playing with a ton of confidence right now. The fact that they're home next week against the Chiefs, I think that's massive because it just seems like whenever they play in front of that Buffalo crowd, I'm pretty sure their home record was second.
Baltimore?
Yeah, was second to the Cowboys this year. So I don't see anyone stopping them at home. And good God, Kyle Hamilton, that's another one. I haven't even mentioned his name. And then on the offense, you saw Zay Flowers making plays every now and then, Rashad Bateman. Mark Andrews is probably going to get a little more healthy. Obviously, they got Odell, too, who had a touchdown in this one. It's just they just look about as unstoppable as any team right now. And though I have a lot of confidence in the Niners, said that at the top of the podcast, but the Ravens just looked like they were carrying everything over from the regular season.
And one thing that the Texans were doing well in the first half was taking away the running lanes for Lamar Jackson, but they used the pass to, set it up where he was doing play action and ran around and just got effective in the second half. I wonder what will happen, though, if the Chiefs take away the run, and specifically Lamar Jackson's ability to run, and Lamar has to go toe-for-toe shootout with Patrick Mahomes.
Right.
If it comes down to that. The defense could stymie, or as Ernie says, stymied, the good to see you, Ernie One. Where you been? I wonder if the defense will shut down the Chiefs' kind of so-so offense this season, although they've been playing really well now in the playoffs. But it'll be interesting if Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes have to shoot out.
Totally. But it all depends if Mahomes is offensive talent, the guys around him actually make the plays, because Mahomes has played well this season, but you could count how many drops they had this year, just second to the Raiders, I think, in total drops. But the fact that the Ravens just took advantage of the Texans when, look, the Texans had they had everything, man. They had everything. They were playing with house money. No pressure to lose in this one, but the Ravens just took care of business. No problem. Shout out to John Harbaugh and his dancing at the end in the locker room. Love that.
Yeah, he cuts a rug.
He really got after that. Can you imagine him at weddings?
Oh, he probably slays.
Hell yeah.
With those dance moves?
Hell yeah.
I don't know if you know this, but I'm Jim's brother. Oh, and some say I look like Brock Purdy. Yeah. He loved whipping that finger around.
Whip that arm around.
There you go. Lions, man, good for them. This is actually a fun story. 2 playoff wins in D-Town, baby. It's so cold in the D. Remember that song?
No.
Oh, I'll send it to you. But yeah, man, to get that win against the Rams, and they should have won this game. Thank God, because I don't need the Buccaneers advancing. They were beat up on the Eagles, but they're not a playoff team in my opinion. So good for the. I mean, it was close in the first half. Um, Jared Goff playing turnover-free football, the best I've seen him play this season, but or in his career, I should say. He almost threw a pick to Jamel Dean um, in the end zone, but that's where things changed when he got injured. And their running game, I think, is the most physical in football, probably the best. I would say it's probably better than the Niners' run game, just how they line up and just run right at you with Montgomery and Jameer Gibbs. And then they're effective with the play action pass. I love Amon St. Brown. He's one of my favorite wide receivers in football. The guy just gets volume catches. He just gets catches and yards, and he's
Yeah.
incredible. Yeah, and the defense is playing better. C.J. Gardner-Johnson with the pick. Explain this to me, Steven.
Yeah.
They're up 31-17. Buccaneers score, go for two. I know some teams have done that this year to kind of put pressure on the team that if they get a 3 and out, then shit, they're down by 6 now. But what do you think of that? And I know Michael Wilbon went on a whole analytics thing. Leave Michael Wilbon alone. All right, let him do his thing. But I didn't get that either. I didn't understand at that moment, like, either way, you have to go for two, but you put more pressure on yourself if you don't get it.
I think it's just inevitable. I think it's inevitable because I mean, if you do end up going for two, then what? It would have been
31-25.
31-25, and then a field goal could have won you the game, and the extra point. Look, I agree with the move. I just that decision to go with a goal line fade, kind of weird.
Yeah,
with a 2-point conversion, it's like that's not a high percentage play. It's very low percentage, and I know you got Mike Evans, and that's really all the hope they had. Mike Evans started to look like Mike Evans there in that game, but towards the end of the second half, specifically, or in the start of the second half. But look, man, if everyone's doing it, there's a reason they are doing it. I forgot the amount of 2-point conversions that have, at least from 2017, before 2017, compared to now. I think the 2-point conversion rate is up at like is up 30% or something like that. It's crazy.
Right.
Every NFL team thinks they should do it, and I think that puts a lot of pressure on the Lions. You know, it's crazy what it does to the other team when they know all the other team needs is one touchdown and they can win it. Just go back and look at the 49ers and Packers. I wonder how the 49ers would have handled that final drive if they knew they had to get the touchdown and the extra point in order to actually tie it. But if you needed just an extra point to win, I kind of agree with the move of going for it.
Okay, no, that's fair. But yeah, I mean, overall, just a great win for the Lions. Dan Campbell, everybody thought he was a joke when he got hired with the biting the kneecaps thing, and now they're 1 win away from the Super Bowl. It'll be interesting to match up against the 49ers, but I think a lot of Lions fans, I mean, I was at the bar with John Curley, and he knows a Lions fan, and she was hanging out with us, and she's like, I can't believe this is happening. Like,
Right.
For, 32 years, and for this franchise to be totally changed, and everybody thought, like, Jared Goff was like just a dump in that trade. He's like, get him out of here. And now he's playing really good football. So they're a fun team to watch. I wonder how they'll be when Ben Johnson leaves, because I never believe that's going to happen, but they're really fun to watch. They've restored the roar.
Yeah. Nice. No, that the 1-2 punch with Jameer Gibbs and David Montgomery too. It's just perfect. They figured out the perfect mix. And I think that's my biggest question going into the Niners game. I know we have all week to preview that, and we're probably going to meet on Saturday this week as opposed to Thursday.
Back-to-back games for the Warriors the next 2 days.
And we'll have a full preview on Saturday. But I am curious to see how the Lions handle Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw when it seems like getting Jameer Gibbs to the outside and using that track star type of speed. I wonder how they're going to try to combat that. That'll be a fascinating little chess match there for Steve Wilkes and company. But they are a fun team. They're the feel good story of the year. I guess the Browns were kind of the number one because with Joe Flacco and their quarterbacks going down and everything, but that was short lived. The thing is with this NFC Championship, these two teams deserve to be here. You could say that it should have been like the 49ers and the Cowboys, the 1 and 2 seed. we all knew it. We all knew that the Cowboys were just going to fade when it got to the playoffs. They never step up when it actually becomes real,
Yeah.
when it's actually win or go home. They never do. They always let their foot off the gas pedal. The Lions, it feels like, even though not every win has been pretty, they have fought and earned every single one of those 12 wins, which I think they had this regular season. It's just what Dan Campbell's done, what Aaron Glenn's done with that defense. That defense it's not the best, but it's definitely a tick better than it was. Building guys through the draft, the number one pick, or the first round pick being Jahmyr Gibbs when everyone was off on that. Brian Branch, a safety, he came through in this one. He was huge in that game, actually. Like, that's another thing with the 49ers. He's got to be ready to block, because they are the Lions. Every time they got a sack, at least it felt like in the first half, they were bringing their safeties in and just blitzing them, and the Buccaneers had no answer. And sometimes they would just leave Aiden Hutchinson completely unblocked where he could get a sack too. So I think there's going to be a fascinating thing there, but yeah, it's just, even, I'm sorry to 49er fans. I don't we got a lot of 49er fans in the chat here. I guess my question, we haven't really thrown out a lot of questions, but a question to you, not to you, Derek, but to 49er fans, to the Gurneys, to Otis Bird, to Danny Golding, if he's still here, AJ Cruz, if AJ Cruz is a 49er fan. Do you like being the enemy here? Because I'm sorry, nobody's rooting for you. Besides 49er fans, and obviously we are here in the Bay Area, but around the nation, around the NFL, any random, AJ's a season ticket holder, there you go. Anyone else outside of the Bay Area bubble, you got some of those people who might be fans of different teams, but they're rooting for the Bay Area. The Lions, they're America's team right now.
Yeah.
So do you like that as 49er fans? Because I think a lot of people really loved watching the 49ers doing what they did, and didn't really care for them being the enemy. They didn't think they were the enemy. But this time, I think it truly is the 49ers against the world right now, because a lot of people are going to be rooting for the Lions. So
no doubt.
Do you like it? Is it different being on this side of the table now, being on the villain side of the table?
I'll get more into it when we do our show on Saturday, but I think there's also a lot of things that 49er fans should feel, that they're the underdog in this situation. But the reality is the Lions have been shit on for a good deal of their franchise's history. So yes, everybody's rooting for them, but Niner fans shouldn't care. They want this. They've lost 2 NFC Championship games in a row. Who cares? But we'll go into more of that on Saturday. So there you go. Those are all the games for divisional weekend. Fun, closer games than what we saw against the wildcard weekend teams. But yeah, I'm with the exception of the Chiefs advancing, I was happy with all the outcomes. Yeah, that one sucked. I hated that. Before we get out of here, I want to bring this up. Warriors have bon off for quite some time, obviously for good reason. A week ago, they lost their assistant coach, Dejan Milojevic, and I can't imagine what they're going through. Steve Kerr spoke to the media yesterday, and he came on with us today, and it's tough. This is the hardest thing that he said he's ever had to deal with as being a head coach or being in the NBA, period. And Kevon Looney said great things about him. Draymond talked about it on his podcast. I think we got to give this team a break, and I think fans will, but this is going to be tough. It's not just, we're feeling things out and, they're bored of the regular season. A guy just died, and they all witnessed it. So I loved hearing all of the great stories about Dejan. I love Steve Kerr not caring about FCC violations, just saying he would have told all of us, you motherfuckers need to go out there and play basketball. I'm butchering the quote, but it was along those lines. And yeah, they'll play tomorrow against the Atlanta Hawks, and they'll go from there. And whatever happens with this team, it happens with this team. We should be grateful for what they've accomplished, and they're dealing with a lot right now. And I think that Marcus Thompson wrote a great article in The Athletic talking about how Steve Kerr's the perfect man for this job. So when people want to grill Steve for, oh, get him out of here, he doesn't know what he's doing, the lineups suck. Not many head coaches can handle what that team's going through right now. So he's the perfect guy for this situation.
Agreed. But no, you know what? We need to fire him because he's not playing Jonathan Kuminga for more than 18 minutes per game. You know, like
Yeah, whatever.
all that talk was just ridiculous. No one cares about the human aspect of it. It's just like you act like you care about humans, but then, you know, it's just, you know, the stick to football, stick to basketball crowd, whatever it is, from letting people, like, I guarantee you a lot of the fans who were calling for the firing of Steve Kerr were also saying the same thing, where it's like, no, we need to let these athletes speak their mind and do all these things and be human or whatever. But like, Steve Kerr does not get enough credit for just how good of a guy he is. And he is the perfect guy to deal with this. And it really just, it's awful. And I don't know. I think I said this after it happened, but like, whatever happens this season, they went through a tragedy, man. Like they literally saw their assistant coach have an episode which resulted in his death.
Yeah.
Like, I can't imagine being in anyone's shoes in that situation. And, you know, I'm only speaking from experience, but even with me, with my dad, it took like probably a year to, you know, kind of get used to things. And I even had kind of like 6 months almost to prepare for that to happen before. These guys just watched it like that, just suddenly during a dinner. I can't imagine what it must be like for them. You know, I think about like guys like Kevon Looney. Steve Kerr mentioned Dario Saric and just how important he's been to the team. So I don't know. This is when it's bigger than basketball comes into play. It's bigger than the NBA. So whatever happens this season, it happens. Whatever happens at the trade deadline, okay. But it's just like, I don't know. This is something that I'm not going to forget. I'm not going to look at anything this season without understanding like what they've been through and kind of just giving them that sympathy, that space there. Because we can get back to our day to day of just, you know, getting pissed off with the team for the sake of getting pissed off, because that's what we love to do with our basketball team. But I don't know. I'm just not going to be like that this season. That's just me. I'm not telling anyone what anyone else has to do, but that's just how I'm going to be viewing it, really.
No, I'm right there with you, because I think what this team's accomplished in the past and what they've been through this season, chill out a little bit, Warriors fans. It's going to be okay. They'll figure things out, but this is gut-wrenching. And not to mention, Steve Kerr brought it up, you lose a guy in Dahan that is, you know, was important to the team, and he's going to be gone. And they saw him every day to kind of light up their lives a little bit. He was, you know, I guess everybody kept saying, a great smile. He was joking. His English wasn't great, so he would say things like he told Ron Adams, like, show balls, show balls. So everybody loved him. But they'll miss him when they go to work. His family's going to miss him all the time. So awful.
Yeah.
Warriors will play tomorrow, and they will have a DM emblem on their jerseys to commemorate the passing of Dejan Milojevic. No easy transition, so I'll just do it. What do you think was more impressive, Steven? Joel Embiid scoring 70 or Karl-Anthony Towns scoring 62 in a loss?
Oh, it's more impressive that they lost, scoring 62.
I mean, Jesus. How the hell did that happen?
Joel
Embiid. Didn't they blow like a 15-point lead in the fourth quarter?
Sorry, but Joel Embiid is like 7'2" and over 300 pounds. That dude should be scoring 70 every single night. I'm just kidding. He shouldn't be doing that. That's really setting a high standard. No, it's really impressive for a guy of that size to do it, to do it against a lowly Spurs team, but to score 62 and lose and have your head coach say that was an embarrassment to basketball. Yeah, that's more impressive. Way more impressive.
And
how the hell do you do that? Chris Finch was so pissed.
What a weird night in the NBA. So all that shit happened. Terry Rozier gets traded to the Miami Heat, which I think is a pretty big move. Tristan Thompson got suspended 25 games for whatever the hell he was taking. And the best part of the night was Kevin Durant having a unbelievable game winner And then that not even being the most impressive thing of the night, when he goes back in the locker room and does the post game stuff, they're like, "So what do you think of Joel Embiid and Cat?" And he was like, He scored 70? Shit.
Yeah. Looked like he wanted to get back into the gym and maybe go work so he could put up 70 himself. Don't be surprised if Kevin Durant puts up 70 points this season, folks.
Oof. You think he can?
Yeah, I think he absolutely can. It's just this dude made the argument that he should be in the greatest of all time conversation, and then another guy just comes out and puts up 70.
Yeah.
Like
By the
Kevin
way,
Durant's thinking to himself, I got to do that.
did anybody catch Draymond while he did a podcast remembering Dahan? On the same podcast, he said Kevin Durant not in the GOAT conversation. And, I'm not going to go crazy with that because I'm tired of the whole Draymond KD beef. But that's interesting. That's not nothing.
You don't think so? You think it's not? You think it's something?
I don't know. They always have a weird relationship, and they've said things about each other recently with the whole suspension thing and getting help. I don't know. I thought that was kind of interesting.
Maybe we found an NFL offseason little Just Your Opinion Man segment. Nothing
What?
Or not nothing.
Ooh, I like that.
Nothing or not nothing.
Nothing or not nothing. Dalvin Cook trying to find another team.
Is that nothing or not nothing?
Well, you're probably going to say nothing.
Mm-hmm. I will say nothing every single time.
You got to keep me interested in the offseason, buddy.
Yeah.
All right. That's it for tonight.
Hang on real quick.
Okay, Steven.
Real quick. I just want to pull this up here. These are the Hall of Fame voting results for the 2024 class. Adrian Beltre, Todd Helton, Joe Mauer, all got in. You need 75% of the vote. Billy Wagner did not, and Gary Sheffield did not. The fact that Gary Sheffield did not in his 10th and final year on the ballot is a travesty. I truly believe that the Hall of Fame truly believe. I think the Hall of Fame is a way to tell the story of whatever sport, basketball, football, baseball, no matter. And I don't think you could tell the story of baseball without Barry Bonds. That's number one. You absolutely can't. And without Gary Sheffield. Now, granted, there's the contemporary era. So he could very well get in via the contemporary era election option, which Jim Leland got voted in this year. They started it last year. Fred McGriff got voted in for it last year and was unanimous. So I think judging on those scores there, the fact that he got 63%, Fred McGriff got 39% in his final year of the ballot, or that was the highest percentage of votes he got. I think he could get in via the contemporary era, but yet again, these baseball writers that dictate everything that we're supposed to think about the sport and the history of the sport, they're supposed to be the gatekeepers here, and they blew it again. So shout out to them.
I'm kind of tired of the Hall of Fame talk because honestly, this is the most illegitimate Hall of Fame, I think, in sports.
Yeah.
Because I think there's bias and I don't know.
I get that the basketball Hall of Fame.
People took steroids. It is what it is.
I get that the basketball Hall of Fame, it feels like lets anyone really get into the Hall of Fame, but that's how it should be. What?
This is a topic for another day, but Tracy McGrady and Chris Webber, not Hall of Famers to me.
But there you go. I'd rather have it, but you can't tell the story of basketball without Tracy McGrady and Chris Webber in the 2000s, right?
Why? Because they couldn't get out of the first round?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
But still, they were fantastic throughout their careers. And I just think the same of Gary Sheffield, what he did.
No, Gary Sheffield should be a Hall of Famer.
Just iconic batting stance. And it's not just the batting stance, but I mean, come on, dude. If it was Christmas time, we just closed out Christmas and you were done with your wrapping paper. What did you do with that little cardboard roll thing that you had with the wrapping paper that's empty without any paper on it? You used it and did the Gary Sheffield batting stance. Waggle, waggle, waggle. I got a paper towel thing. I just ran out of paper towels today. Had the little cardboard thing. Did the little waggle. It's what you do. I think he's been to the All-Star game 5 times, 500 homer, just a beast, a stud. And we don't get any of that. So that's a shame.
So, but he's still eligible to get in there.
He could get in through the contemporary era. Yes.
Now he's
But-
a Hall of Famer in my book.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, yeah. Kind of.
But shout out to Joe Mauer. Shout out to Todd Helton.
All deserving, you think? Adrian
think so.
Beltre, definitely.
I think so. I think they all are.
Okay, fair enough.
Joe Mauer, one of the greatest catchers that we've seen. Todd Helton, I think, very underrated. And if Larry Walker can get into the Hall, then I think Todd Helton absolutely deserves to be in the Hall.
So would Joe Mauer go in anything that's a good case? I don't think it was really a debate before, but good case for Buster Posey.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It started with Joe Mauer.
Yeah.
But God, Todd Helton, just a beast.
Yeah. All right, Steven. We'll be back on Saturday, and we will do a little pop culture catch-up then, because I honestly got to catch up on pop culture. I haven't watched enough of it. So
All right.
And we'll preview these conference championships. Thanks to everybody in the chat tonight. The Ernies, AJ Cruz, Otis Bird is the word, and Abraham Cruz. And let's not forget our new guy, Mr. TV. Where are you? Danny Golding TV. Welcome to the club, my friend. And then we got Jesse, always in the chat. What up? Oh, and don't forget about Boofbuster. I think that's just AJ Cruz on his other account. Doesn't count, AJ Cruz. Nice try. You're not going to fool me.
Boofbuster?
All right, Steven. Yeah, the Boofbuster.
Oh, that's right. Where the hell's Skills at?
Skills pops up here or there. I'm sure he'll come on Saturday.
All right.
Or else. I don't know what I'm threatening our fans for. Anyway, Steven, I'm tired and sick. Say what you always say.
It's just wow.
Finish it, damn it.
Way to end it on a high note. It's just our opinion, man. Jesus.